Good day, everyone. Welcome to our online learning discussion. This is our subject, English is a Second Language, and your teacher here, Miss Michelle Joy. Class, before we proceed with our online learning discussion, let us have a short recap or review of the last topic that we had, which is about Proverbs. So what do you mean by Proverbs? Proverbs are a short popular saying of sometimes unknown authorship, expressing some general truth. Example, haste makes waste. What do you think this means? It means, class, that when you do things quickly, you can either be wrong or you might do it again. Some samples of proverbs are the following. Number 1, a bad workman always blames his tools. Number 2, let sleeping dogs lie. And number 3, don't count your chickens before they hatch. Yes, here are the objectives of the lesson for this week. Number 1, students must be able to know what an advice is. Number 2, students must be able to know how to ask, give, and decline an advice. And number 3, students must be able to know English idioms as an advice. Class, our topic for this week is all about advice. And here are the words to learn. Please repeat after me so you can still practice your reading skills and speaking skills even if you're just at home. These words to learn will help us understand better about our topic for this week. Let's start reading now. Number 1, advice. Number 2, opinion. Number 3, guide. Number 4, advisor. And number 5, recommendation. Let's discuss these words one by one. Advice, meaning information, counsel, recommendation, guidance, suggestion, tip, hint, news, word, pointer. And advice is actually something that is given to us by the person we are talking to, especially when we have problems. The second word, opinion, means view, belief, notion, sentiment, idea, feeling, thought, conviction, impression, and persuasion. Opinion can either be correct, can either be against what you are believing, or can either be an idea of someone. Guide means direct, lead, conduct, pilot, steer, usher, manage, escort, control, govern. So class, when you say guide, it is basically a thing that can help us lead the correct way. Number 4, we have advisor. Means advisor, consultant, guide, counselor, mentor, counsel, teacher, instructor, doctor, and tutor. It is a person that gives us advice. And the last word, recommendation, means suggestion, testimonial, advice, proposal, counsel, commendation, endorsement, guidance, direction, and reference. Now let us read again these 5 words. Advice, opinion, guide, advisor, recommendation.
There's no need even to have a college degree at all, or even high school. I mean, if somebody graduated from a great university, that may be an indication that they will be capable of great things, but it's not necessarily the case. You know, if you look at, say, people like Bill Gates or Larry Ellison, Steve Jobs, these guys didn't graduate from college. You know, if you think of like what is education, like you're basically downloading data and algorithms into your brain, and it's actually amazingly bad in conventional education because like it shouldn't be like this huge chore. So you're making it way better. The more you can gamify the process of learning, the better. Like for my kids, I do not have to encourage them to play video games.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
I have to like pry them from their hand. To the degree that you can make somehow learning like a game, but then it's better. And I think, unfortunately, like a lot of education is very vaudevillian. You've got someone standing up there kind of lecturing at people, and they've done the same lecture 20 years in a row, and they're not very excited about it. And that lack of enthusiasm, is conveyed to the students. They're not very excited about it. They don't know why they're there. Like, why are we learning this stuff? We don't even know why. In fact, I think a lot of things people learn, probably there's no point in learning them. Because they never use them in the future. Because a lot of kids just in school kind of puzzled as to why they're there. And I think if you can explain the why of things, then that makes a huge difference to people's motivation. Then they understand purpose.
How did you get the expertise to be the chief technology officer of a rocket ship company?
I do have a physics background. That's helpful as a foundation. And then I read a lot of books and talked to a lot of smart people.
You're self-taught?
Yeah. Well, self-taught, yes, meaning I don't have an aerospace degree.
So how did you go about acquiring the knowledge?
Well, like I said, I read a lot of books, talked to a lot of people, and have a great team. First of all, you don't need college to learn stuff, okay? Everything is available basically for free. You can learn anything you want for free. It is not a question of learning. There is a value that colleges have, which is like, seeing whether can somebody work hard at something, including a bunch of sort of annoying homework assignments, and still do their homework assignments and kind of soldier through and get it done. That's like the main value of college. And then also, if you probably want to hang around with a bunch of people your own age for a while instead of going right into the workforce. So I think colleges are basically for fun and to prove you can do your chores, but they're not for learning. To the point of the question that was just asked, I want to make sure Tesla recruiting does not have anything that says requires university, because that's absurd. But there is a requirement of evidence of exceptional ability. Like, you just can't, if you're trying to do something exceptional, they must have evidence of exceptional ability. I don't consider going to college evidence of exceptional ability. But people are trained to do this in college. You can't say no to the professor. The professor's going to give you the exam, and you've got to answer all the questions, or they will get angry. And give you a bad grade. So then you always you always answer the question. A lot of the times you should say this was the wrong question.
So how would you educate your 5 boys?
Actually, I created a little school. It's called Ad Astra, which means to the stars. That's maybe a bit different from most other schools, is that there aren't any grades. There's no like not grade 1, grade 2, grade 3 type of thing. I'm making all the children go in the same grade at the same time, like an assembly line.
I know.
Because some people love English or languages, some people love math, some people love music, and different abilities at different times. It makes more sense to cater the education to match their aptitudes and abilities.
Class, let's proceed now with our discussion about advice. What is an advice? Advice, also called exhortation, is a form of relating personal or institutional opinions, belief systems, values, recommendations, or guidance about certain situations relayed in some context to another person, group, or party, often offered as a guide to action and/or conduct. Put a little more simply, an advice message is a recommendation about what might be thought, said, or otherwise done to address a problem, make a decision, or manage a situation. Advice actually, class, is a thing that can help us solve our problem. We usually talk with other people to get advice, or we can also read books, we can also read magazines or articles that can help us solve our problem. And these are all forms of advice. Now, class, let us proceed to the discussion of asking for advice. So, for asking advice, we have these questions. What do you suggest? What do you advise me to do? What should I do about? What ought I to do? What's your advice? If you were me, what would you do? What do you think I should do about? What would you suggest I do? I should do about. Could you give me some advice about? What would you do in this situation? So as you can see, class, when you are asking advice, of course, you are asking things that you might do in order to solve your problem. So class, we just discussed about asking advice. Now let's proceed to giving advice. So in giving advice, these are some sentences that can be found in the start of the sentence. If I were you, I would. Why don't you? You'd better. You ought to. You ought should. If you take my advice, you'll. It might be a good idea to. I advise you to. I suggest you. Have you thought about? I think you should. Maybe you should. How about? You might try. I would advise you to. My advice would be. So these are things or sentences or words that you can found at the start of sentence, and you can use this as an advice to a person who seek for your idea or opinion about a certain situation. Now, class, let us discuss about declining to give advice, because there are times that even if our friends ask us about our opinion or idea of something or of a certain situation, we just don't know or we are not sure what we are going to tell them. So these are some ways on how to decline an advice. The first one, I don't know what to advise. I'm afraid. The second one, I wish I could suggest something, but I can't. Number 3, I wish I could help. Number 4, I'm afraid I can't really help you. So you see, class, you are declining an advice, but at the same time, you decline your friend an advice in a very polite way. Class, let me read to you an example of an advice. This is a family. Their son has a problem. He said, "Help! I'm bored." And he got 5 advice from the family members. First, his father. He said, "You should clean your room." Second advice from his mother. She said, "Why don't you help me with dinner?" The third advice is from his sister. She said, "You shouldn't complain. I have so much to do." The fourth advice was his grandmother. She said, "We could go watch a movie." And the last advice from his grandfather, he said, "If I were you, I'd play with your new siblings." Class, let us go to the last discussion that we have for today, which is about idioms as advice. So there are 9 English idioms to give advice. The first one, don't bite off more than you can chew. It means take it easy. Don't take on more work than you can physically handle. Don't be overly ambitious. The second one, actions speak louder than words. It means what you do is more significant than what you say. Don't just say something, do something. The third one, a bird in the hand is worth 2 in the bush. It means be happy with what you have rather than to be overly ambitious and you end up with nothing. Next, Don't add insult to injury. Don't make matters worse. Literally, not only you're injured, but someone also insults you. Next, don't add fuel to the fire. It means don't do or say something to make an argument, problem, or bad situation worse. And the last one, Romeo wasn't built in a day. It means be patient. It takes time to accomplish a complex task or create something great. Now, class, talking about advice, what do you call a person who gives us advice? This person is called an advisor. What is an advisor? An educator who advises students in academic and personal matters. One who advises another, especially officially or professionally. Consultant, counselor, coach, or mentor. An advisor is a person who helps us in things that we want to do, who help us and guide us on the things that matters, who also help us in solving problems. Now class, we now come to the end of our lesson and it's time for you to do the activity. So giving advice. So you can find here 9 sentences class and you are going to match it with the sentences on the right side. But here you are just going to write the letter of your answer on the underlined word. So let's try number 1. I want a pet, but mom says that dogs are too needy. So the answer is letter C, buy a goldfish. So after you write letter C, you just cross out letter C. Good luck, everyone! Now, class, we now come to the end of our discussion. It's time for us to say our goodbyes. I'll see you again next week. If you have any questions, suggestions, or comments, please leave a message in our Google Classroom account, or you can send me a line message, or you can call me in my personal line account. Goodbye, everyone. Stay safe, and till next week.